The Middle East may have just entered one of its most dangerous phases in years. For the first time, Saudi Arabia has openly joined the United States in striking Iran-backed militias inside Iraq. That is a major escalation. Until now, Riyadh mostly relied on diplomacy, regional alliances, and defensive measures to contain Iran's influence. But if these reports are accurate, Saudi fighter jets have now crossed a line that could transform a proxy conflict into a much broader regional confrontation. At the same time, Iran claims it launched missiles at American bases and attacked oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz, while Washington says it intercepted every missile and responded with coordinated airstrikes. Oil prices have already jumped. Diplomacy is hanging by a thread. The biggest question now is no longer whether the conflict will expand, but whether anyone can still stop it. To understand why this matters, we need to step back. Since the US and Israel launched military operations against Iran earlier this year, the conflict has spread far beyond Iranian territory. Instead of fighting only through conventional forces, Iran has relied heavily on its network of allied militias across the Middle East. These groups operate in Iraq, Lebanon, Syria, and Yemen, giving Tehran strategic reach without deploying its own army directly. One of the most powerful of these groups is Iraq's Popular Mobilization Forces, or PMF. Although the PMF forms part of Iraq's official security apparatus, several of its largest factions maintain close ties with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, commonly known as the IRGC. These groups have repeatedly targeted American military bases and regional partners over the past several years. According to US Central Command, more than 30 drone attacks targeted American forces and Saudi energy infrastructure during the past 72 hours. Washington says those attacks came under IRGC direction. Iran denies any involvement. That disagreement now sits at the center of a rapidly escalating military crisis. The first major development is Saudi Arabia's direct participation. For years, Saudi Arabia preferred to fight Iran through diplomacy, sanctions, intelligence cooperation, and defensive operations. After years of costly conflict in Yemen and the Chinese brokered restoration of diplomatic relations with Iran in 2023, Riyadh appeared determined to reduce regional tensions rather than expand them. But this latest action suggests that strategy may have changed. Saudi officials say Iran-backed militias launched drones toward oil facilities in the kingdom's eastern province and Riyadh region. They describe the joint operation with the United States as an act of self-defense under international law. If Saudi Arabia now believes that deterrence requires direct military action rather than diplomatic restraint, the regional security balance changes dramatically. Instead of remaining a supporting player, Riyadh becomes an active military participant against Iran's regional network. That increases both the military risks and the political consequences for every country involved. And that leads directly to the second and perhaps even bigger development. The strikes did not occur inside Iran, they occurred inside Iraq. That distinction matters because Iraq now finds itself trapped between two powerful partners. The Iraqi government officially cooperates with the United States on security while simultaneously maintaining close political and economic ties with Iran. The PMF itself complicates the picture even further. It belongs to Iraq's official security structure, yet several of its factions answer ideologically and operationally to Tehran. The PMF says at least 20 fighters died and more than 30 others suffered injuries during the joint US-Saudi strikes. It has condemned the attacks as violations of Iraqi sovereignty. That creates enormous pressure on Baghdad. If Iraq cannot prevent foreign militaries from striking forces inside its own territory, questions about state authority become even more serious. Meanwhile, Iran-backed militias may feel compelled to retaliate, potentially drawing Iraq deeper into a conflict it does not fully control. In other words, Iraq risks becoming the primary arena where Washington, Riyadh, and Tehran compete without formally declaring war against one another. But the military dimension is only part of the story. The third issue involves global energy markets. Iran claims its naval forces attacked 3 oil tankers in the Strait of Hormuz. Whether every operational detail is independently verified or not, the broader message remains clear. Tehran continues to signal that it can threaten one of the world's most important maritime choke points. Roughly 1/5 of global oil shipments normally pass through the Strait of Hormuz. Even limited disruption sends immediate shockwaves through international markets. Brent crude prices rose more than 4% after the latest escalation. Higher oil prices affect far more than energy companies. They increase transportation costs, raise inflation, pressure central banks, and slow economic growth worldwide. That explains why Washington continues negotiating through regional mediators even while conducting military operations. The United States wants to reduce attacks on shipping without allowing Iran or its regional partners to dictate the rules of navigation. Military operations and diplomacy now move forward simultaneously, but that balance becomes harder to maintain after every new strike. The implications extend far beyond Iraq. For the Middle East, Saudi Arabia's direct military role could encourage a new regional security alignment against Iran, while increasing the risk of wider proxy warfare across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and the Gulf. For global powers, the conflict creates another strategic challenge alongside Ukraine and growing tensions in East Asia. The United States must balance military commitments across multiple regions while preventing another prolonged Middle Eastern war. Russia and China will closely watch whether Washington can sustain that burden. For countries that depend on imported energy, including much of Europe and Asia, as well as countries like Pakistan, India, Japan, and South Korea, continued instability around the Strait of Hormuz could translate into higher fuel costs, inflation, and economic uncertainty. Every missile launched in the Gulf now carries consequences that extend far beyond the battlefield. The latest strikes show that this conflict is no longer just about Iran and the United States. It is becoming a regional struggle where every new battlefield redraws the balance of power across the Middle East, and every escalation brings the world one step closer to a much larger confrontation. If you enjoyed this analysis, subscribe to the International Desk, and I'll see you in the next one.